If he isn't afraid of losing you, it's because he assumes you'll never leave. That's the hard truth. The longer you explain, chase, or prove your worth, the safer he feels. Not loved, not grateful, just comfortable. And especially for those over 60, that truth cuts even deeper, because after decades of giving, of marriages weathered, of heartbreak survived, you've learned that time is too precious to waste convincing someone of your value. What makes a man worry is not your anger, not your words, but your silence. Your shift from seeking his attention to standing in your own dignity. That's when he realizes the ground beneath him is not as steady as he thought. Hi, it's Vernon again. Today, we're talking about how to make him worry about losing you, not through games or tricks, but by reclaiming the quiet strength that only comes with age and experience. If these words resonate with you, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. It's not about numbers, it's about reminding yourself each time you listen that your worth has never been up for debate. Now, let's move into the heart of this conversation, the deeper reflections on what truly makes a man worry about losing you.
Number 1. Reclaim your attention and shift inward. A man begins to worry when he senses your attention shifting inward, when your world no longer orbits around his moods, his timing, his validation. This is the first and most powerful step in making him fear losing you, no longer centering your worth on his approval. The paradox of love is that the less you need someone, the more they recognize your value. It is not manipulation, but revelation. It is the sudden recognition that the one thing he assumed was permanent, your devotion, has limits, and limits demand respect. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." That freedom, in the context of love, is the courage to stop begging for scraps of affection. It is the willingness to sit in silence rather than trade your dignity for fleeting attention. When you claim that freedom, it unsettles him because it signals that you have remembered yourself. Imagine your presence as a flame. If you cup your hands too tightly around it, you smother it. But when you allow it space, when you guard it without clutching, the fire breathes and grows. Your life force, your attention, your essence, all work the same way. When you release the need to be constantly seen by him, the energy you reclaim becomes radiant. He feels that radiance, and with it, the fear of losing something he can no longer take for granted. This is not about playing cold. It is about living whole. And wholeness, especially for those who have crossed into the wisdom of their 60s and beyond, is not optional. It is survival. After decades of giving, you know the truth. The self cannot endlessly pour without being refilled. When you reclaim that balance, he notices, he worries, because the woman he once believed would always bend has chosen instead to stand. This is the first crack in his certainty, the first tremor beneath the foundation of his comfort. But cracks once formed lead to deeper shifts, and so we must ask, what happens when you stop rescuing him from the weight of his own neglect? Let's turn to that next.
Number 2. Stop rescuing him from the weight of his own neglect. When you no longer rush in to fix what he breaks, whether it's promises, effort, or intimacy, something profound happens. The safety net he relied on disappears. He must face the consequences of his neglect. And that confrontation awakens a fear deeper than jealousy. the fear of standing alone in the silence he created. Think of it as a house left untended. At first, it looks sturdy, even familiar, but over time, cracks widen, dust settles, the roof leaks. If no one repairs it, the decay becomes undeniable. In relationships, constant rescuing hides this decay. But when you step back, when you no longer patch the roof or sweep away the dust, he finally sees the home he took for granted collapsing around him. Some might argue that stepping back is abandonment, but it is not abandonment. It is truth revealed. You are not withdrawing love. You are refusing to cover neglect. From one angle, it looks harsh. From another, it is the only way respect is born again. Because a man who never feels the weight of his own failures cannot grow. And if he cannot grow, he cannot love fully. Now, tell me honestly that have you felt this shift yourself? That moment you stopped explaining, stopped repairing, and simply let reality speak? Share your thoughts in the comments, not for me, but because another woman may need to see her own story echoed in yours. The value here is clear. You are not responsible for carrying what he refuses to hold. And when he realizes that, the fear of losing you takes root. He begins to see you not as a constant presence, but as a choice that could vanish if he does not rise to meet it. And yet another layer remains. If silence and non-rescue stir his fear, what happens when you begin to expand outward, building a life that thrives beyond him? Let's explore that next.
Number 3. Build a life that thrives beyond him. I saw this from my marriage. There was a season when I thought the way to keep peace was to keep giving time, giving energy, giving explanations. And yet the more I gave, the smaller I became. I began to realize this truth not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, as the weight of constant giving hollowed me out. It was only when I chose to step back and invest in myself again, in reading, in walking, in friendships that nourished me, that the dynamic shifted. Suddenly, my wife wasn't the only one holding the reins of connection. I was standing in my own ground, and she noticed. That is the heart of this reflection. When you begin to thrive beyond him, when your identity stretches wider than the relationship, he feels the tremor of change. It is not about ignoring him, but about expanding yourself. Your silence unsettles him, yes, but your growth humbles him even more, because it reminds him you are whole, even without his constant presence. Consider the tree whose roots dig deeper each year. Storms may shake its branches, but its foundation strengthens with time. In the same way, every investment you make in your own growth, whether spiritual, intellectual, or emotional, deepens your roots. And he, standing beside you, must reckon with the truth. You are no longer the woman waiting on his recognition. You are the woman whose light expands with or without him. There will be voices that whisper, "Isn't this selfish?" But ask yourself, is breathing selfish? Is standing upright selfish? No, it is necessary, and it is from that necessity that respect is born. I wonder, what have you done for yourself lately that reminded you of your own worth? Share it in the comments so another soul can draw courage from your example. Because the greatest fear a man can feel is not that you leave him, but that you no longer need him to be complete. That realization unsettles, provokes, and awakens. And so the question arises, when growth and expansion meet intimacy, how does the dance of love change?
Number 4. Redefine intimacy through growth and expansion. Growth is not only an individual act. It reverberates inside intimacy itself. When you stretch, evolve, and expand, the very nature of closeness begins to transform. Some men will resist it, mistaking your independence as distance. Others will be drawn to it, realizing that intimacy with a whole, evolving partner is richer than comfort with someone diminished. This is the paradox. Expansion tests the relationship, yet also offers it new ground. It asks him to see you not as an extension of himself, but as a force with her own orbit. And when he sees this, fear arises. Fear of losing what he cannot contain, but also awe at being invited to share in it. From one angle, intimacy appears threatened by growth. From another, it is purified by it. Think of intimacy as water. Stagnant, it breeds decay. Flowing, it remains clear. Without freedom, closeness congeals into dependency, and dependency without respect hardens into resentment. But when two people choose to stand as whole beings, again and again, meeting not out of need but out of reverence, intimacy becomes alive, renewed with every choice. The value here is profound. By choosing to expand, you invite intimacy to deepen rather than wither. And the action for you is clear. Cultivate your growth, for in doing so, you test the strength of love itself and reveal whether he truly fears losing you. Now pause with this thought. Is intimacy in your life quietly shrinking to preserve comfort, or unfolding wider to make room for growth? The way you answer is not just theory, it is a mirror of how he sees you, and whether fear of loss even enters his heart. And if intimacy can indeed be reshaped by growth, then another current inevitably rises: desire. Desire is not a loud flame, but a quiet tide, swelling most noticeably when absence is felt, when space reawakens longing. It is toward this more delicate question, the nature of desire and its enduring power, that we now gently turn.
Number 5. Awaken desire through space and absence. Desire lives in paradox. It rarely thrives in constant closeness. It stirs in the rhythm of presence and absence. Think of a melody. The notes matter, but so do the pauses in between. Without the spaces, the music collapses into noise. In love, too, desire breathes in space. When you create distance, not through anger, but through self-containment, he is invited to feel your absence. That emptiness unsettles him, for it reminds him that your presence is not a given. Desire awakens not because you demand it, but because he begins to notice what life feels like without your attentive gaze. Imagine a garden. If watered every hour, it floods. If never watered, it dies. But when tended with rhythm, the roots grow strong and the blossoms appear. Desire works the same way. Too much availability suffocates it. Too much withdrawal starves it. Balance is what makes it flourish. And if you find these words meaningful, save this video to return to later. Sometimes wisdom lands differently when revisited, and having it close at hand may be the reminder you need in quieter hours. Some may ask, is creating space manipulation? No, it is restoration. It is giving the relationship room to breathe, so both partners may feel again the spark of choosing each other. And for you, the action is simple yet profound. Allow yourself intervals of solitude, nurture interests apart from him, and let him encounter the quiet of missing you. Take a quiet moment to ask yourself, when was the last time desire in your life was not born out of conflict, but out of the gentle ache of absence, that subtle longing that makes presence feel rich again? Reflect on it, and if you feel moved, share your thoughts in the comments. Your insight may become the mirror another woman needs, a reminder that longing is not weakness, but proof that love can breathe when given space. And still, another layer awaits us. For if desire is awakened by absence, what role does respect play when presence returns? How does he meet you once the space has done its work? This is where our attention now turns, gently unfolding the next truth together.
Number 6. Restore respect when presence returns. Respect is tested not in your absence, but in your return. For it is easy for him to miss you when you are gone. The harder truth is whether he honors you when you step back into the room. This is the measure that separates longing from genuine reverence. Think of how shadows define light. Absence may awaken desire, but it is only in presence that respect reveals itself. If he greets your return with gratitude, with recognition of the void your silence carved, then the fear of losing you has matured into respect. But if he slips back into comfort, treating your return as an entitlement, then absence has taught him nothing. Hear the words of Marcus Aurelius echo. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. A man's response to your renewed presence shows the true color of his thoughts toward you. Does he see you as a gift or a guarantee? That distinction is everything. The deeper value for you lies in treating your presence as something sacred, not casual. Returning to him does not mean returning to old patterns of overgiving. Instead, it is a chance to embody the quiet truth that your time, your attention, and your love are not obligations, they are deliberate offerings. Seen in this way, your presence becomes a gift that carries weight. And when he begins to understand this, his fear is no longer about losing a companion at his side, but about losing the dignity, vitality, and spirit you bring into the bond. This recognition opens a new dimension of respect, one that grows only when you hold yourself with that same reverence first. Ask yourself, what would it look like if, in your return, you carried the calm strength of one who knows her worth? That vision may be the very action that reshapes his respect.
What we have traced together is not a set of tactics, but a journey, from silence that unsettles, to boundaries that reveal neglect, to growth that widens intimacy, to absence that awakens desire, to presence that reclaims respect. Each reflection has pointed back to one essential truth. He begins to fear losing you, not when you cling tighter, but when you remember yourself. For those who have crossed 60, this truth is even sharper. Time has become more precious. You have given enough years to know that love without respect is erosion, and presence without reverence is emptiness. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And so it is with love. No woman is truly valued until she becomes sovereign over her own worth. The gift of this season of life is clarity. You already know the cost of overgiving, the ache of being unseen, the futility of trying harder to be enough. What remains is the choice to hold yourself with dignity, to let silence speak where words have failed, and to let your growth remind him that love is a privilege, not a guarantee. So take this with you. Your worth is not negotiable. Your presence is not automatic. Your love is not owed. When you embody this truth, he cannot help but feel the ground shift beneath him. And in that tremor lies the fear of loss, but also the chance for respect to bloom anew. If something I've shared here gave you pause, don't keep it to yourself. Share your reflections in the comments below. You never know whose heart your words might steady in the dark. And if this kind of wisdom speaks to you, subscribe, not as routine, but as a promise that in the days ahead you will not forget your own worth, because the time to remember is always now. And carry this with you. Love is not measured by how tightly you hold on, but by how clearly you stand in your own light. I'm Vernon. Thanks for watching my video.